very good morning. This presentation is brought to you by Resonate International with a mission to leverage knowledge worldwide. The topic being covered is European Defence Force, a strategic necessity or an ambitious redundancy. Ladies and gentlemen, today Europe faces a profound question: the potential establishment of a European defence force. This proposal, while not new, has re-emerged as geopolitical pressures and shifting alliances bring Europe's defence into sharper focus. French President Emmanuel Macron catalyzed this debate, suggesting a European-led defence system that could complement or, some argue, even challenge NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. To fully grasp the implications, it's essential to understand both the origins and evolving dynamics of this discussion. Undoubtedly, Europe stands at a pivotal security crossroads, where the proposition of a European Defence Force (EDF) has moved from hypothetical to strategically discussed. The idea is to create a force that bolsters Europe's ability to act autonomously in times of crisis, supplementing or perhaps reducing its reliance on NATO. But with the European continent's diverse security needs, the concept of the EDF remains as challenging as it is ambitious. Let's examine the context, rationale and feasibility of an EDF along with alternative approaches that might best secure Europe's future. The concept of an EDF comes at a time of growing skepticism over Europe's reliance on external defense guarantees, particularly from the United States through NATO. Founded in 1949, NATO binds its 32 members, 30 from Europe plus US and Canada, to mutual defense, with Article 5 promising collective security against any aggression. A NATO decision is the expression of the collective will of all 32 member countries, including 23 such European nations which are EU members also, as all decisions are taken by consensus. Since the end of World War II, NATO, with its US-backed security assurances, has been the foundation of Europe's defense. Over the decades, NATO has expanded its role in safeguarding Europe's peace and security, providing a formidable deterrent through a combination of American military might and allied contributions. NATO's presence in Europe is extensive, with around 100,000 US troops stationed across European countries, most notably in Germany and Poland. Europe's collective military assets under NATO's shield include approximately 1.8 million active personnel, 8,000 tanks, 2,800 combat aircraft, and dozens of naval vessels. However, US funding and resources make up about 70% of NATO's budget, leaving Europe significantly dependent on American support, a dependence made starkly clear in light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. NATO has provided stability for over 75 years, serving as the strongest deterrent against regional threats. Yet, while Europe benefits from NATO's vast security structure, it has historically fallen short in its defense contributions. NATO's 2% GDP defense spending target set in 2014 has not been met by many European members, with the continent collectively contributing less than 1.8% of GDP to defense on average, a shortfall that has drawn criticism from the United States, which regularly pushes for a stronger European commitment. Over the past 20 years, for example, Germany's contribution averaged around 1.3% only. This disparity has led to calls from the US for increased European contributions, positioning NATO as not only a security alliance but as a wake-up call for Europe to strengthen its own regional defenses. This demand has prompted discussions within Europe about establishing a security force with greater regional control, possibly independent of NATO's transatlantic structure. Why the EDF? The question is obvious. The EDF's idea stands in contrast to NATO's established structure. Where NATO is a transatlantic alliance, EDF aims to be purely European, potentially independent of external influence and focused exclusively on European interests. This could grant the EU greater autonomy in handling crises close to home. Proponents argue that a European force would allow Europe to respond more swiftly and decisively to security threats within its borders and in its neighborhood. Support for an EDF varies among EU countries. France and Germany stand as prominent advocates, while nations like Poland and the Baltic states remain cautious, valuing NATO's protections and wary of diluting its cohesion. Proponents argue that EDF could allow Europe to act more quickly in crises that directly impact the continent, enabling decisions aligned closely with European interests. They view the EDF as a means to enhance Europe's self-reliance, potentially reducing the necessity to seek consensus from a larger NATO alliance. The proponents also realize that creating an EDF raises significant questions about feasibility and resources. European nations already allocate considerable funds to NATO, and establishing a parallel defense force would demand a substantial commitment both financially and militarily. NATO's headquarters is in Brussels, Belgium. Its other existing infrastructure spans command centers, bases, and rapid response forces, all offer Europe a well-established and efficient defense apparatus. In contrast, an EDF would need to build command structures, logistics, and strategic capabilities from scratch, a daunting task in an era of budgetary constraints. The EDF's establishment would require vast resources, and estimates indicate an annual budget of at least $100 billion to fund a minimal but fully capable European force, an amount that would impose new financial strains on European states. While NATO's primary mission is collective defense, EDF proponents envision a force focused on rapid response to regional issues. NATO's Article 5 guarantees collective defense, but an EDF could respond swiftly to localized threats operating outside the broader NATO command structure. However, an EDF would also need to be both robust and independent, calling into question its return on investment. Can Europe, given the current economic landscape, realistically afford the dual burden of supporting both NATO and a fully autonomous EDF? This question stands. What is the practical alternative? It could be the European Rapid Response Force, ERRF. One promising compromise might be a European Rapid Response Force integrated into NATO, but designed for quick deployment to Europe's borders during crisis. An ERRF could offer Europe the flexibility to respond swiftly to land threats, particularly from Russia, without the heavy infrastructure costs of a fully fledged EDF. This force would serve as an initial barrier capable of stabilizing situations until NATO's full might is mobilized. An ERRF, backed by NATO's established command and funding, could enhance regional security without requiring Europe to shoulder the massive financial commitment of an independent EDF. Let us do a SWOT analysis of EDF and ERRF approaches. To objectively weigh the EDF against the ERRF, let's analyze both options from a strategic lens. In terms of strengths, the EDF would provide strategic autonomy, allowing Europe to engage quickly and independently. In contrast, an ERRF offers rapid deployment capabilities without duplicating NATO's infrastructure. In terms of weaknesses, the EDF requires substantial investment, which could be difficult for European economies to sustain alongside NATO obligations. Meanwhile, the ERRF relies on NATO support, limiting Europe's autonomy in the process. What are the opportunities? Both concepts could enhance Europe's defensive response capabilities. An ERRF, however, provides an immediate, realistic path forward with fewer resource demands. What are the threats? The EDF could risk weakening NATO's cohesion if US commitments wavers, given the perception of European distancing. An ERRF, by contrast, strengthens NATO's role in Europe, aligning transatlantic interests and reinforcing collective security. What are the strategic implications of an EDF? An EDF could reshape Europe security dynamics, potentially signaling a shift towards a more self-sufficient Europe. However, any tangible shift in autonomy would take decades to materialize. The EDF would require extensive training, coordination and alignment among member states, which currently maintain diverse defense policies and capabilities. Conversely, the ERRF offers a near-term solution with less complexity and greater likelihood of operational success, particularly for smaller European nations that may lack the independent defense capabilities but wish to bolster border security. What's the way forward for Europe? An EDF could reshape European security dynamics, potentially signaling a shift towards a more self-sufficient Europe. However, any tangible shift in autonomy would take decades to materialize. The EDF would require extensive training, coordination, and alignment among member states, which currently maintain diverse defense policies and capabilities. Given the complexity and cost of an EDF, Europe may find the ERRF to be a more achievable and effective solution, complementing NATO's existing framework in the process. By developing a regional force capable of swift action, Europe could reinforce its borders and enhance regional deterrence. Investing in an ERRF allows Europe to meet its security needs, honor NATO commitments, and strengthen transatlantic partnerships. Ultimately, an ERRF backed by NATO's existing command structure can provide a scalable, sustainable defense solution tailored to Europe's unique requirements. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, Europe's vulnerability underscores the urgent need for a pragmatic approach to defense. The vision of an autonomous European defense force may offer appeal, but Europe's best path to security likely lies in a collaborative, realistic approach. Through a robust ERRF integrated with NATO, Europe can address immediate security challenges while reinforcing its alliance with the US, safeguarding its people and protecting its shared democratic values. In a complex global landscape, this balanced strategy offers Europe a pragmatic and fortified future underpinned by collective strength and mutual commitment. Good luck, Europe. Best wishes and God bless.